So we have a prosperity agenda, a new partnerships, and this is why I would like to mention the African continent. And here I should like to show gratitude for all the fine work you've been conducting there. African agenda must get out of obsessions of the past. I've taken a hard look at historical issues, cultural, memorial issues, and I believe we've done hard work, not just in Africa. In Algeria, we had the Stora Commission and the Stora Report. We've been returning works of art, and that is the Ouagadougou agenda that I mentioned earlier. So over the past few years, we've really changed things around. We have a new approach. France has been looking at its past, has taken a hard look at its past and tried to have a scientific, historiographical approach, an uninhibited approach, and we'll be doing the same with Cameroon. We have historians working there as well. But in my capacity as President of the Republic, born after decolonization in the continent, where 75% of the population is under the age of 25, the dialogue with Africa can be held hostage to a form of post-colonial Pan-Africanism with turning us into the new imperialists. We cannot have this sort of a false dialogue with false intellectuals that are manipulating the social media, taking advantage of the stress of the younger generation with the complicity of the likes of Russia and China. No, we have to say that France's presence in history is being in Africa is not being wiped away. It's being revisited. We've decided to move in Africa. We decided to take a new stand because we had to take a new stand. We looked at our past relation in memorial terms, in cultural terms. We've looked at the facts, we've been accepting the facts, but we are not giving in to disinformation. Number two, we had a security relationship with Africa. It was a dual relation. Part of it was our commitment against terrorism. Ever since 2013, we've been fighting alongside Africa. We did the right thing. Nobody said thank you, but of course, thanks will come later. I'm well used to this. Ungratefulness is unfortunately a human disease, but believe you me, we had it not been for our French servicemen, some of whom actually give up their lives for this combat. Many of these countries, many of these governments would have been overrun. Wherever you have coups, where new governments saying our priority is no longer fighting terrorism but this or that, well then France had nothing to do, because we cannot be the second knives of the putschists, of these new dictators. Otherwise, we would have been holding our own post-colonial discourse, because in French-speaking Africa, there was a history, we had a military presence, but of course, that was no longer justified. That was not France's presence. The interests were no longer there, and instead of being recognized for what it was being used against us. They said, look, the French have a camp with 2,000 soldiers, they are fomenting some coup, and so disinformation was being used against us. And so, patiently, and I would like to thank Jean-Marie Bockel in personal capacity. I would like to thank him for this mission, because he is one of those who actually suffered himself from this situation. But he worked with the ministers, with the military establishment, and so what we told the African heads of state was that we should reorganize. because we are being polite, we let them make the announcement first. But just because we're being polite and reorganizing, we shouldn't be construed as being kicked out of Africa. In fact, many of these countries didn't want France to leave, didn't want even us to reorganize. But that is what a partnership is all about. So yes, we are starting a new defense partnership. We will have new bases, and Djibouti is a case in point. That will be stable. This will be lasting because it's a regional presence, and we'll ask our partners to express their defense expectations and requirements. There will be much more work in terms of information, communication, equipment, and this will also mean more defense contracts. It will be for us to qualify to define the new threats, as we did with Benin a few years. This is a completely novel relationship. We started a strategic dialogue with the likes of Nigeria. And so, again, it's this uninhibited defense dialogue. But of course, over and beyond defense, Africa is a continent of growth. And again, we are being too cautious about this. We are obsessed with French-speaking Africa. Fair enough. We have history, we have relations, and including in civil society. That's all very well. But thank God we went to Nigeria for the first. It was the first trip in 25 years. 150 million inhabitants. Thank God we went to Kenya. That was our first visit in many years as well. Good thing we returned to Ethiopia. More than 100 million people there. We have a strategy of investment. We have to change our take on Africa. This is a continent with huge emerging economies, with huge economic potential. And in some parts, we actually disinvesting, we are divesting from Africa at a time when we should in fact reinvest. And of course, investment should be there to support the risk we are taking, but we have to be major players. We need to have a strategy with our entrepreneurs in all industries. That strategy has got to be much more ambitious vis-a-vis the African continent. This is a continent of opportunity in commercial, in economic terms, on the matter of food and agriculture, even on cultural, artistic matters, sporting events. We have the expertise. We've displayed this to the entire world during the Olympics and Paralympics. The sporting strategy has got to be rolled out in Africa because, of course, the people who worked for the Games should also work for the Cup of Nations in Africa. And we also have expertise to bring in terms of education and the like. And so we've started changing our take in Ouagadougou, but that has got to be replicated elsewhere. This is a new conquest that we have to start.